Hi everyone, it's Elena and Sridhar, Provident Homes. So we are primarily developers and we have a number of different sites across Milton Keynes, Cambridgeshire, Northamptonshire and Bedfordshire as well. So we're currently at Mill Road in Wellingborough, and it's a 24 unit Victorian shoe factory conversion. So Sridhar is going to talk us a little bit about the numbers.
Yeah, it's when we bought it, it's came with 24 units planning. The GDP for the project is 3.6 million.
And so this is more communal area, right, that we're in now?
Yeah, this is all communal area. So we made sure an access, it's pretty much.
And this is the original floor, right?
This is all the original floor.
Wow. Stood the test of time.
Coming from stairs and lift is going to be there.
Oh, wow.
Just
Nice. That's cool.
So we built the whole thing, it's an extension part of the building.
Yeah.
So left accessing all 22 apartments, to be honest.
And how many floors are you going to have? 4?
4 stories, yeah. This is Darren here, our site manager.
What? You're not actually filming now, are you? Bloody hell. I've only got a face for radio, haven't I? So it's the building side of it to put it in. Obviously, you can see here, you've got to actually, the measurements for a lift shaft, I'm not going to lie to you as well, we've never actually done a lift shaft, but the measurements have to be absolutely spot on from the ground to the steel at the top, which holds the whole lift shaft in. The whole lift itself, it's braced off, has to be absolutely 100% spot on. So as you can imagine, in a building like this, it's been an absolute nightmare to get everything to the right data, to the right datums given and everything like that. But the surround of it is in theory just a square box, and the lift, they now told us, we thought they were going to have to put it in from the top on a crane as such, but what they do now is it's flat pack in theory, so they bring it in, put the rails all the way up and then build the lift itself and put it in the shaft there ready to go.
So you build the kind of cage for it?
We build the sort of infrastructure as such to it, and then they come in and throw it in, they get the glory, don't they? And that's it. That's it. That's it. But because the bit at the bottom, we left that because we knew it was a void anyway, but it has to be, we've got to fill that with concrete, which we knew we'd have to do something with it anyway. But that bottom bit and the very top are the main aspects of the lift. So if you get them slightly out, then you're in serious trouble when the lift comes as well, because the floors are kind of irrelevant. They adjust them as you go. It's the top and bottom. So,
And then speaking of services and utilities, obviously there's 4 floors here. You've got flats all over the place.
Yeah.
Compared to someone who's just doing a 2 or 3 flat conversion, or even just a normal house, how much extra work is there to get all that in?
Obviously, the numbers sort of speak for themselves. Obviously, instead of doing 2, you're doing 24. But you have what's known as sort of a riser cupboard as such. So all the services, the water, the electric, obviously there's no gas in here, will go up in that cupboard and then sort of spider off into each rooms and each flats and stuff like that. Bit of a nightmare we've got on this one is we've got electric boilers on here, so we have to have 16 mil armoured cable going to the consumer unit and 16 mil armoured cable coming from the mains all the way to there as well, so it's 2 per plot. So obviously we've got 48 plus obviously the landlords and stuff like that, but in theory they go all up in a riser cupboard or all up in a certain place, and then they dog leg off to each bit anyway. So the simpleness of it is actually no different if you're doing 2 or 3. You've still got to get it up there somehow, and you can't just like this is our temporary feed. You can't just have it sort of dangling anywhere. They've obviously got to be in their prescribed zones, so that if anyone does drill through them, you know that well, they won't drill through that anyway, but you know full well where they are. So that's the only sort of aspect to it, really.
And then with these old buildings, lots of steels running sort of through them, lots of old features. How is it working with it kind of structurally? Do you have to be a lot more careful? Do the engineers have a bigger role?
Yeah, when we start knocking walls down and everything, I mean, down this basement one down here, that was an absolute pain, let's say. I was going to swear then, but I won't. It was an absolute, because we had to support the main one going through the building. We had to support that on special stilts, not just the acros that we use just to hold up a little wall here and there. Had to order them in specially, and they made to measure. You have to bolt them to the floor, even though they're temporary. Still had to do that, and it was a case of knocking a bit of the wall down, adding these in, and going through. But regarding a steel structure, in theory, this whole building could now drop down, could fall to bits, and the steel structure would be there for you to build on again. In theory, if that makes sense to you, so there's a lot of steel work gone in.
This building is literally standing on steel at the moment because we just got the fabric of the building as such. You just bought the bricks and space, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. The way, like this steel here, for example, goes all the way up to the building, and underneath there is a 2 metre cube, so 2 metre by 2 metre by 2 metre depth of concrete just for that one pad, isn't it? And then and we've got 8 of them down there. Hopefully we've got 8 of them. If we've got more, then I've got it wrong. But we got so we've got all of them going through there and making sure they're all tied in properly, like reinforced concrete, and then making sure they're bolted. If you see they're special gripped bolts, so that they can't ever come undone unless you undo them yourself, which I wouldn't recommend. But
with the consultant, they want to overspec the whole thing because that's safe for them, and from a builder's perspective, we need to make sure it's optimum, and which is where we had some conversations.
Yeah, that's it. And so, some of the steel that we didn't necessarily think was necessary, they're saying, well, if you don't put it in, then they can't sign it off for certain things. So obviously you have to go through what they want to do, and they've been helpful, to be fair.
Just force them to do the work, right? They don't want to do the whole calculation fully and say if it's overspec,
that's it. And
rather than they say, oh, we'll have to now do this whole thing, have calculation, say what's the optimum level.
We moved a few walls as well, didn't we? So then we had to move some of the steel as well that went with it. So like sometimes just moving a wall was never as simple as just moving it over.
Good materials, trying to get them in, prices, things like that. Maybe it's a question for everyone here, but how has that been with you managing the site?
To be honest, we've struggled a little bit, but we've got quite a good relationship with local merchants. So when we're ordering blocks, for example, when we first come back from COVID and furlough and everything, because it was hard to get hold of, so they'd phone us up and say, look, if you want to order them, order a lorry load now and keep hold of them on site. And sometimes that made it a bit cheaper as well, because we got a bulk load in and then the price would go up anyway. Installations are a struggle now as well to get hold of, but like I say, they're phoning us up and saying, right, if you need them, and we've got like 3 or 4 different merchants we can go to. It's a struggle. Deliveries are a nightmare. At the minute, my van is completely empty because now and again I'll have to go and pick a load of stuff up because it's just quicker and easier rather than waiting. Sometimes it's 7 to 10 days delivery, and they don't like it as well, these merchants, but there's nothing they can do about it. Everyone's just busy. But it's plasterboard. I know Shane, he's the plasterer, he's supplying fit, so we don't have to order that, but he's saying sometimes it's a bit of a nightmare. He has to pre-order a week or 2 in advance, which is absolutely fine, but you just have to sort of think ahead, and I've been told I don't, but so you just have to think ahead and make sure you've got it all there anyway.
I think the biggest challenge has been the amount of steel we got in this building. I mean, the steel price has absolutely gone up, and
did they go up 60%? Or
they got 60%. They tried to shield us from that, and they said the level at which it's going, they will have to pass on the price, but that was obvious.
They didn't change the fitting price, though, did they? They sort of looked after us a bit because they knew. No worries. Am I done? I'll sign off now.
Yeah, you sign off.
You've embarrassed me enough. I'm expecting this. You said I could go to the office, and then you collared me. No, this only started going in yesterday. So
So there's a 2-bedroom show apartment.
We've got island here as well.
Are these real wood doors?
No.
Yeah, I bet they were. I reckon they're nice.
They are nice, aren't they? Really nice.
They're not too blue, they're kind of like neutrally.
No, they don't take too much.
No. Oh, I like the inside of them, it's fancy.
They're quite smart, don't they? Really nice. This is your island here with a sort of little breakfast bar, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what works out for you? That's nice. These angles are really nice.
You like it?
Really like it. Where do you get your kitchens from usually?
These are Howdens, Howdens, and the reason we chose that, I know it was going backwards and forwards.
We had like 2 suppliers, we were talking about colours.
Howden, I mean, even now, just now when I popped out and I bumped into you, is that I've just been to Howden's to pick up an M panel, so it made it really easy for us. They keep so much stuff, and they're local as well. And funnily enough, we actually know a delivery driver who's happy to, like, now and again just drop stuff off for us. So we're quite lucky with that. And sometimes if you get a company like we've used, I better not say a name, we've used other companies before.
I've used some terrible ones.
The service was just like you had to wait a week for certain bits, and you go, well, we can't wait a week, can we, for like a little end panel and stuff like that. So
I know.
And if you get any damage as well, I mean, replacing them is going to be the thing.
They've got them in stock, like, and if they haven't delivered something, they'll bring it out the next day. So it's pretty good for us, really. And they do. I mean, I know sometimes they do a better value version of kitchens. And they also do a good upgrade of kitchens. So you got everything you need, because this is just the show home. The rest of them aren't going to be like this, are they? They're just going to be.
We will have 2 spec. One is high spec in terms of what you could achieve from the from upgrade level, and then the normal thing which we do for all the apartments. So it's going to be the 2 steps. Yeah.
I like it. And is there a huge window going in here?
Yeah. We're waiting for delivery, which should have been Wednesday, speaking of deliveries.
You should see the window, see the size. Can you imagine having a kitchen with this big window? I mean, the amount of light coming in.
I mean, this is, wow. It's epic.
That's the
Bit
additional
less
work
in
from
loads-
that
loads
team
of
to
light,
make
yeah.
sure we don't lose any of those, from the side of the windows.
So you're 7 foot, so these must be about 8
Yeah. I'm like on the surface, there's still more space to go on, and that's what you get.
I love these little flat These windows are epic.
The normal height one you need, but you thought, obviously you're having an additional ceiling height that really help.
And why, so the roof slant, or the ceiling slants here, but it's flat there, why is that?
Because we need the services, everything on the stairs, you need to manage the whole thing, right?
It's a decent sized bathroom, to be fair. Wow.
So we got 11 parking spaces all at the back.
Yeah.
And
And this window's huge again.
quite drastically on this price.
So it went from 80k to 175, you said?
80, 90 also, then we...
Because of, you needed extra ones, or?
Yeah, we had, initially when we planned it, we didn't need these much steel, but with the structural changes and small modifications we did, that means,
Plus the price increase for the COVID.
price increase due to COVID as well, but
That's basically a double in spend on steels.
yeah.
And that was in your contingency then? You had a contingency?
Yeah, we had
obviously
lucky
enough
contingency and we had put more on the lift side of things, but we managed to get a good price down this lift.
And putting a
We
lift in,
managed-
does it add a premium?
It does add a premium, and in terms of accessibility as well for the apartments.
of course,
that's
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's one of the conditions which they said they can't take it out because they want to make it accessible to
that makes
disabled
sense.
access. So it's, I think 22 of the 24 apartments is accessible to lift, which is a big
That's
win.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
If you look at the planning, what we had, they had like 4 independent stairs, just one at the front, from the corner. Somebody was just, architect.
Just said,
local
yeah,
architect,
whatever, chuck it in.
Whatever, just check it in. How many stairs we do have, So lift was there, but was serving only, I think, 1/3 of the apartments, and we had to do a whole, This is more like aligned in terms of the build. It was
Yeah.
more, everything is aligned in terms of how the wall's going from top to the down.
So you had to spend
So
money once
we
you purchased
just
it.
did the whole thing, and if you look at the planning before, it was like all over the place. Now if you look at it, it's pretty much aligned, all the walls are aligned one on top of another. So from a construction
Nice,
point
so
of view, it's straight, just come, straight on there and then makes
So
sense.
you had to spend more money and time than getting this through and redesigning it and
We
replanning
just,
it and all
we
that
did,
stuff.
we just did planning optimization on it. Just, it's just not about building, it's sellable as well, right? So if you have like 4 studios, dungeons, out of things, you can build
Yeah.
it, but you're never going to shift them.
Yeah.
So now we made sort of, more a duplex site. So the ones which made a duplex, which means, you still have. This is all new because we had a whole, we taken off and then had a whole ceiling put in there.
It's a lot of timber, that is. Wow.
That's a lot of timber over lockdown.
I was going to say, you're sitting on a gold mine here.
Yes.
You got a lot of plasterboard. Well, I suppose you got a lot of plasterboard.
Definitely, right? With 24 apartments.
And how
We
do
were
they-
almost 15,000 square feet. So the building is around.
Like this is, man.
This is more
This is
like
exclusive.
level. You see the roof height and how we did it in terms of standard, man. It's like
So this is a 2-bed we're in now.
yeah. This is like
But the whole roof came off pre-built.
we didn't had plans to do the roof, to be honest, but we thought okay we'll do a bit more extension on here, but then the roof was not good enough in terms of the strength, and then
So
we
we did it all new tiles.
did the whole thing new. So we will sign off anything. So this was a cool one where I should say the council was really supportive.
Okay,
So
which
we
is
went
nice
for
to
this
hear.
24 scheme. Actually, they would have asked for a new application.
Yeah,
But
I
in here
thought
we
so,
just
yeah.
sort of section 73 alteration of conditions and just said, we're not going to intensify more units. We'll keep the same number of units, but we just want to rejig the whole thing.
Mm.
And which means you saved a lot of money on planning application. So as opposed to 14-15 grand, you just pretty much doing 600, 700. So
I was
yeah,
going to say, because you've got a lot more space and
we got a lot more space.
wow, cool. And the estimated profit on this?
So it's around 500 to 600 depending on the finish what is going to come.
Wow. And this is the first deal you've done of this size?
Yes, it is this one.
Oh, slate roof.